if I go back to being 20-year-old, you know, what do I want? I want muscles, right? I want to look like a bodybuilder. I want to look like one of those guys in the magazines, right? Or the ones in the movies. I want to look like Arnold or Stallone or somebody awesome, right? You know, what would I do? Well, here's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I did in my 20s, which is I lifted too heavy and went, not just too heavy, I went too low in repetition. I went too low in repetition, and by going too low in repetition, I went too heavy, and I also didn't engage my muscles enough. You know, I didn't contract my muscles fully. I just focused on moving weight around. I was more into moving weight than to actually contracting muscles. And the results of that is my body got big, bulky, and not that good, you know? And I realized it because I realized like I'm doing all the lifts like somebody else, but their bodies seem to look better. And at first I was thinking it's gotta be genetics. But then I would watch how somebody would work out and I would see that they would slow it down. They would do more repetitions. They would hold it in the time that is the toughest, right? Holding that peak contraction. And I started realizing, wow, you know, my moves, my repetitions look so sloppy. I'm doing less repetitions and I'm doing more weight, so I feel so good about myself, but my body doesn't look as good. And if my goal was to go ahead and have a good looking body, then what am I doing? You know, I'm not a power lifter. I'm not trying to go ahead and go for numbers. And then I started looking and realized like, that's another thing, which is don't chase the numbers. If you're chasing numbers, you can't go ahead and apply tip number 1. You can't do it, you know, because you got to be able to focus on the actual work in the muscles, you know, focus on what it's actually doing to the body versus trying to go ahead and hit a certain amount of numbers for a certain amount of reps. Here's another one. This is huge. I actually don't talk about this one very much. Don't make the exercise easy. Stop making the exercise easier. This is something that doesn't get talked about enough, I feel. And this is something I used to do all the time. Making the exercises, adjusting my body to make the exercises easier to do. So, for example, if I was to go and sit here and I'm doing a military press, you know, and I'm pressing up, and let's say keeping my back straight in this position is really difficult, for example. So then what would I do is I would go and lean back a little bit, you know, and then I would open up my arms a little bit and now my limit, and then I would go half rep. So now in this position, I can do it more. So then I would start doing it in this position, this exercise, versus staying it close, keeping my back straight and going all the way up and all the way down. Well, that's tough. That is the tip. That tip, stop making exercises easier. When you make it easier, all you're doing is constantly building existing muscles that you do have, limiting the range of motion a lot of times, not following through fully on your contractions of your muscles. Versus if you go ahead and do it with the correct form and with the way that you know this is the real way to how it's done, and stop trying to adjust it, you'll end up developing more muscles because it'll take more muscles to support doing that movement. You'll go fuller in range of motion, which will also go ahead and fully develop the muscles, you know? And also you won't get injured because when you adjust your body in a certain way, you start to get out of a good form. And form is really important when you're carrying a lot of weight on, especially when you're lifting, you know? So I would do that. That's a really big one. That would have speeded up my development in my body much faster. Because when I turned I think about 30, 31, somewhere around there, I started to really focus. Actually, a little before that, I think about 29, I started focusing on shaping my body entirely. And these things that I'm sharing with you right now was what I did, what I learned and realized I needed to change. Because if I kept lifting the way I wasn't able to shape my body the way I wanted it to look. And people that think they can't change the way their body looks because it's genetics is BS. You can. You just have to go ahead and change the way you work out. So these 3 tips. First tip is Stop going so heavy and focus on the contraction of the muscle instead. So this we can develop a fuller muscles, you know, actually get the muscles to do more work. Number 2 is don't chase numbers, you know, don't chase the big numbers. Don't even worry about the numbers. Just worry about the way your body feels. If you need to go heavier, then you go heavier. But you go heavier not because you're trying to hit this number, this 315, this 275. No, it's because you are feeling the way your body feels, and your body feels like I need to go heavier in order to work this muscle more. So let go of the numbers. And the last one is don't make exercises easier. Stay with the form, and if it's tough, then it's tough. If you're using some super lightweight, when you're going heavier with another form, so be it. By not changing the form, you build more muscle. You strengthen all the areas in the body that's much weaker. And you don't try to use other stronger muscles to compensate. This way you're able to balance out your entire body, and you're able to go ahead and bring up all of those lagging muscles. So then when you look at your body looks much better because you have more, you're developing more muscles. So that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self on how to be able to work out better.